Hey, everybody, and welcome to an interesting edition of the, what do you call it? Right, that's right, Infernal Rage podcast. Because this is the last one that will be recorded in the house where it began. Yep, tonight is my last night in this house. Me and my sister and brother-in-law are moving out to another house not too far, 15 minutes away from where I currently live. And yeah, we're gonna have a good time. By the way, I'm Chaos Maelstrom. I don't know if you've been told that, but I'm the host of the Infernal Rage podcast, which luckily I am not infernally angry today. However, I am dead tired because I've been on my feet moving heavy shit for hours on end, and boy, am I just friggin' tired. Yeah. No need to worry about me. I am A-okay after the last podcast. Mainly, I just wanted to have that so I could show people that my depression is a real thing, and honestly, document some of the stuff that I say when I'm depressed, because, oh boy, does it seem pretty upsetting sometimes. The worst part is that there's a hint of truth in everything I say when I'm like that, so yeah, but that was the then. Let's focus on the now. Oh my god, it just feels so good to be, well, done with moving shit today. Because my friggin' legs and feet feel like two strands of very overcooked linguine when it comes to their structural integrity. Ugh. Yeah. Tonight, tonight's been really rough. Well, on the positive side, I guess there's not really much positive I can say right now aside from I've been moving out. But yeah. I didn't really think that I have much to talk about this time. Well, I'd like to say that since the house is basically vacant right now, aside from me, you guys know what I can do? I can be as loud as the hell I want, and nobody is gonna say a goddamn thing about it! Because nobody's here to get annoyed, unless, of course, I annoy the neighbors, which probably won't happen, but then again, I don't want to get on their nerves. But mainly, the thing I'm happy that I can't annoy, that's the sound of me jangling my keys. Normally, if a certain beast that lives in our household hears that, he goes into a borking rampage and won't calm down until he doesn't calm down, does he? But yeah, you know what this means? Cash is absent. I can jingle jangle my jingle jangles as much as I wingle want. You know, that sounds very suggestive now I said that. Please don't quote me on that. What am I talking about? Somebody's definitely gonna quote me on that. Watch, I'm gonna go to Twitter, and the next thing I'm gonna see is Cameron Barkfire 4 on his Twitter. It's going to be, quote unquote, I can jingle jangle my jingle jangles as much as I wingle want. Yeah. Well, if he wasn't going to do it before, now he's definitely going to do it. Okay, well, hopefully he won't listen to this episode. But the important part is that, yeah. It's been a long day, but at last it's all coming to an end. If things sound different, by the way, I'm using a different headset from normal. It's also not plugged into the USB port because for some reason my computer didn't even detect anything being plugged into the USB port. I'll get Hierophant to help me out with that later. Hierophant's my brother-in-law, for those of you who don't know much about what exactly is going on in my life. But, yeah. So how am I recording with this new headset? Well, it has an audio jack cable too. So right now it's plugged in through the audio jack cable and not the USB port. Which I want to use the USB port because one, it'll probably sound a lot more better, and two, it makes my headset light up. I like when my headset lights up. Yeah, but that's not important. So, today, aside from the stuff I've already spoke about, before I get off on a tangent again, I suppose it's time I go ahead and just talk about the thing that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time because, oh boy, it's weighed hugely on my life right now, and honestly, I don't feel like I can get over it because, honestly, it feels like my brain is often stuck there. Of course, some of you might have already figured out I'm talking about my high school experience, which honestly was very traumatic for me and greatly influenced the person I am now, which you might not think is a bad thing if you know me, but honestly, there are some. Okay, there are lots of good things about the current me, don't get me wrong. I love current me, but there are some things about the me before high school that I'd almost like to have back. Okay, so as many of you know, I'm on the well. What do I mean? As many of you know, half you guys don't even know me, but yeah, I'm on the spectrum. So I have autism, a form of autism known as Asperger's, mind you. Go Aspergians! We are the best people in the world, and we keep the world turning. I'm 90% certain that somebody you know is an Aspergian. And judging by how many people watch this, that person is probably me. Moving on along, well, yes, I'm an Aspergian, and I love being me. Because when you're me, it's great. But yeah, before high school, I didn't know anything about that, even about autism or anything of the sort. For me, it was mostly just like total blur. I didn't even know anything about what it meant to have that sort of disability on you. I wouldn't even really call it disability. Like, don't get me wrong. I grew up in a school with a lot of an elementary school with a lot of special ed classes. So I've seen a lot of disabled kids with both physical and mental disabilities. And some of them are actually really sad cases. I could go into that, but I don't want to have to talk about anyone in general. I just hope those kids manage to find some way forward in life because, oh boy, if I'm struggling with me finding a way forward, then I'd hate to see where those kids ended up. There's actually one guy I knew who I used to be friends with of sorts. He's actually I based an OC off of him. I don't want to go into detail about who that character. I guess it wouldn't really hurt. Some of you who know my OC villain guy who talks like this, who's really, honestly, he was a good kid. I don't know what's happened to him, but I just hope he's managed to find a way forward in life. Now you might think, where do I get off making a disabled kid modeling a villain OC after a disabled kid? And well, he and I got into a little pathetic fight one day, so I decided to make him the villain because that's what you do. That's what little Sean did when he got mad at somebody. They made him the villain. Hence why I made my first ever villain in my original series based off of Camp Barkfire 4, as you know, or Cameron, as I said, as the person who's going to go to Twitter and quote what I said earlier. Please don't actually do that. I swear to God, if I go on Twitter and find that quoted, I'm going to have to leave a reply of... First off, I'm going to reblog that. And second off, reblog, what is this, Tumblr? Nobody uses Tumblr anymore. I'm going to have to retweet that. And then I'm going to have to go and say something smarmy to him. As for what that is, I don't know. I'll probably just say, quote unquote, something smarmy. Oh, God. Why am I writing this? Because now... Why am I just writing this scenario out loud with my words? Because now I know for a fucking fact it's going to happen. One of these days, I'm just going to... Okay, you know what? Let's drop this subject entirely. I am getting incredibly off tangent right now. I need to focus on important things. Like, Talking about high school. Right, so anyways. Yeah, I didn't know anything about Asperger's before going into middle school or high school, because the high school I went to was a hybrid between junior and senior high. So it was very we had a big age difference of 6 years. But yeah, where do I begin? Okay, so let's start with seventh grade. So I just get out of this elementary school, public elementary school with lots of special ed classes. I graduate from a mainstream class, and I learned that my best friend, Cameron, is going to be moving away to some backwoods town nobody's ever heard of. So, yeah, I get upset after that. But not like, I don't even know if he had the qualifications to get into the school I went to because it was a school of choice. Yeah, you can already probably see little red flags starting to pop up. But yeah, so that hit me hard. So when I went in, there was little to no one I knew from my elementary school, and it was very difficult for me because a lot of kids in my elementary school were weird like me, and they'd gotten word gets around. They've gotten word of my antics and how I could be a really fun guy. Because I'll tell you right now, uh, I used to be more or less like I am when I'm recording my Let's Plays back before high school. I'm really hyper, like I like doing annoying things. I'm really immature, make dumb jokes, stuff like that. And get angry and upset way too easily. Yeah. That was me. I was vocal about that. I didn't care what other people thought back then. After high school, I became a very reserved person, hardly ever speaking out. I just always just try to keep a low profile in any social situation. So where did everything go wrong? How was that cool? Well, no, not cool. Blah. How was that really fun, energetic, hyper kid with the overactive imagination who just didn't know when the frick to shut up? What happened to him in those 6 years that he went to high school? Well, I'll tell you. Life happened. No, better yet, high school happened, because fuck high school. I can't just keep saying that it's bad and not explain why. So let me try to explain more into it. Okay, so when you first get into high school in seventh grade, that's when everybody's starting to go through puberty. Everybody's getting those weird changes. However, everybody is still also immature as frick. So the only way you're actually going to be getting into a fulfilling relationship with somebody is, honestly, with the right amount of peer pressure. And honestly, peer pressure and just for popularity's sake is the only real reason why middle and high school relationships happen. Because everybody's immature and they don't think properly. They don't think about future. They don't think about what they like about this person. They just think, I'm going out with this person so I can brag to my friends and such. I don't think there was a single relationship in high school that... Well, then again, I didn't really pry into couples much during high school. Granted, I always glared at them when I saw them walking together in the halls, doing the most lewd of lewd activities, and the whole thing, hands. God! I can't believe I said that out loud on this podcast. Future Sean, you might have to censor part of that. Okay, but, moving along. Yeah. So I was like, when I first get in there in 7th grade, okay, this will be just like elementary school. Oh, no. Because there's a whole lot of kids older than you, and while they don't bully you, they do awkward and stupid things. And you get to the point where you're thinking, okay, maybe it's okay to be awkward and stupid. But then, of course, when you got me, who grew up in mostly early special ed classes, then moved on to a mainstream class, but still with some other students who've graduated from special ed classes into mainstream classes. Then you go and get into a school of choice. What do you think is going to happen if you're known as the wacky and weird and that's normal at your old school? Everybody at the new school, where it's a school of choice, is going to ostracize you. And yep, that's what happened. I never was able to really make friends. There were maybe one or two people who I got along with, and heck, I'm still friends on Facebook with them to this day, though I don't actually say anything to them. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, but they were all like a year above me, and it's weird how things work. I just was never able to make any true lasting friendships in high school. I couldn't really share my content with anyone, share my thoughts and feelings, because everybody is just immature. And heck, I was immature too, don't get me wrong. But yeah, and that lasted basically all the way up to my senior year. Because by okay, so I need to continue to go into more detail, but again, I get upset easily, and when you're depressed and you're having a bad day, you say and do a lot of things without using a single ounce of judgment. And I can say that if you do those at a school of choice, around when people are afraid of school shootings and stuff, oh boy, are you going to get labeled, rumors spread about you, saying you're a psychopath who hides guns and knives, and I can't say for sure any of those have ever happened, but definitely rumors. Lots of rumors, and just people ostracizing me, staying away from me, like nobody wants to sit around that guy. Who wants to sit with Sean Black? Ugh. God. I mean, now granted, that could also be my own perception of people, because there are also some good people around there who are pretty accepting, despite everybody in high school being immature as frick. But they're still pretty accepting. Like they'll let you sit at their table at lunch, and they'll let you talk to them, maybe do some weird jokes, and they laugh at them. Heck, I was the kid who always spoke out in class, out of turn, with making lots of weird and pathetic jokes, especially very obscure ones that flew over people's head. Like, I remember I was like the only kid into YouTube poop in my middle school, my 7th grade year, and nobody else knew what the frig that was. And then when my 8th grade year came around, and we got somebody, blah blah blah, a junior below me in 7th grade who knew what YouTube poop was. Oh boy, that was, well, you see, he was honestly really mature for his age, despite everything. And yeah, he was basically the only person I could really who really understood some of my humor. So, and being an Aspergian, not knowing about yourself and not really knowing when you're getting on people's nerves, yeah, I kind of ran into the ground with him. Ugh, it was rough, but I mellowed out over the years, and oh yeah, because that's what high school did to me. It mellowed me completely out. Yeah. So yeah, there's a big incident in my 8th grade year where I got suspended from school. I don't want to go into detail, but I wouldn't even say there was a fight, but there was definitely a confrontation, and there was, I don't want to go into too much detail at all. But yeah, it was interesting, and that definitely got some people very afraid of me. Other people, they missed me because they honestly enjoyed having me in class to say stupid stuff, because everybody likes it when somebody says stupid stuff. What am I talking about? No, that's why they hated me later on. But yeah, people are friggin' weird, man. And like, there's also a really big reason now I think about it why I changed completely from the way I am, the way I used to be, I mean, to the way I am now. But I want to save that for later, because that's honestly some of the heaviest hitting stuff about my high school life right there. Because I still think about it a lot to this day. Alright, but back on task. So yeah, around 8th grade, things are going pretty well. Like, there's some bad stuff spreading about me. Like, I've had a bad incident, but I get that all evened out, and I'm going back to school normally. And then, yeah, also back then I always attended the dances. Why? Because, again, 7th grade boy, prepubescent, and confusing feelings. I want to hang out with girls in pretty dresses. Did they want to hang out with me? The answer might surprise you. Because it was a big, fat, stinky, sloppy no. Yeah, that no was just like... You take Dr. Robotnik saying no from The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. No! You magnify that as loud as possible in both volume amplification and just getting the volume up to the point where basically the entire screen, like if you were to see the waveform of it, it would just be one single block of wave right there. Then you apply G minor over it. You got the red visual filter. No! That's the kind of no I was given, or at least I was mentally given by any girls who wanted to hang out with me. Or at least it felt like that, because I just sort of go there to hang out. People would say hi to me, girls would say hi to me, but, I mean, nobody would ever ask to really hang out or dance with me. I mean, because, yeah, things are weird like that. 8th grade, however, there was one thing that happened differently. I don't know why, but there was this one girl who was pretty charming, a little tall. She was on the cheerleading squad. Either that or she was on the volleyball team. Maybe both. I don't know. But, yeah. She seemed to like me. And she enjoyed talking to me. So, midway through the dance, I'm just sitting around minding my own business. And, she comes up to me and asks if I could be her date. I'm like, okay, normally that's something you ask somebody later. But I sort of agree. Now, I don't count this as an actual date because, honestly, this felt more like a publicity stunt later, because nothing ever came out of this after that one night. Like, it was basically forgotten. But that one night, she sat right next to me. I got a kiss on the cheek. That was one of the happiest nights of my life in early memory. And then, when the next day comes at school, nobody remembers any of that. Heck, the girl, like, when I got to 9th grade, she transferred schools, and I didn't even really talk to her that much. She was nice and all, but, again, I really think it was just for publicity and popularity's sake. If that's the case, then why didn't I get popular after that? I don't know. People are immature. Guess she wanted to come off as the cute girl who showed that she could be nice to the weird guy. The weird guy who is kind of off-putting, but also seems like he's kind of nice. But that's something that you also have to understand when you're in high school. Nice guys finish last. And I honestly think that stands true for a lot of things this day and age because you don't often see nice guys winning awards or anything. No, they always go to the big jerks who have their big metaphorical schlongs hanging out for the world to see. Metaphorical. I said metaphorical. Though I guess in some cases those can be literal. Ugh. But yeah. So yeah, ninth grade rolls around. I'm told that this year is gonna suck because it's freshman year for high school and nothing ever goes great. And I'm like, okay, that can't possibly be that bad. Yeah, it kind of was. So for that dance, I'm like, okay, I need to come up with something. So I decide to try asking around girls around beforehand at in school, like either privately or slip them a note during class. I want to ask if they go to the dance with me. And then, after several resounding no's for one reason or another, I finally get a yes from a really nice girl. So yeah, I'm like, okay, cool, I finally found somebody. This is going to be great. So we go to the dance, and basically after we meet for the first we meet together, there's like one song that I attempt to dance along to, but yeah, if you know me, if 2 left feet is being a bad dancer, I've got 3. So I'm like an indescribably bad dancer. But yeah, then Brain, come on. Yeah, she sort of separates from me after that. And then the entire friggin' for the rest of the dance, I try to look for her, like maybe just talk with her, to hang out with her, or say something. And she completely manages to avoid me. I never see her once at all. I'm pretty sure she even got some of her friends to distract me and then ditch me in a crowd. Because they asked, hey, you want to dance with us? I'm like, okay, sure. They fall into the crowd. I lose track of them. And because this was back before Corona. If you guys are familiar with the term of what a mosh pit is, that's basically what a lot of these high school dances were like. Not with so much of the thrusting against each other, but definitely crowded in close spaces. So yeah, they can easily lose me in a crowd. And it gets to the point where I'm just like, she didn't ditch me on purpose, did she? I found out later that she was getting pressured and harassed by her friends for trying to be nice to me. So in the end, instead of just telling me that maybe we should just stop or do something else, she tries to avoid me and just pretend I'm not there ever again. So yeah, I go home just frustrated out of my mind, and needless to say, I think I might have told this story before back in episode 2 of the podcast, but I went into more detail here now, and that's not a very fond memory. So yeah, after that, I basically decided to stop going to dances because that was not really a thing that I enjoyed anymore. All right. So then, I don't remember anything else really happening through the rest of ninth grade, but that's another thing that happened because I just remembered another reason why it was so awkward for me to try to be able to do anything in that school was because guess who was 2 grades above me and basically the exact opposite end of me on the social spectrum. Super popular, has lots of friends, a social butterfly. She's basically flawless in every single aspect. That's right, my older sister. Now, normally this wouldn't be a problem for my life per se, but back in high school where everybody's immature, they're going to make sure that they have a good impression of her and they're going to compare you to her regardless because that sibling association, that last name association is never not visible. And when they see that you're clumsy, awkward, and you really don't know how to interact socially like your sister, they tend to just forget about you. I don't want to say this is my sister's fault. No, if anything, I love her and I'm happy and I'm so grateful for the person that she's become. But back in high school, when the most you just want to be able to do is have a few friends, a good social group to sit in around and just feel accepted, and everybody's constantly comparing you to her. Because there was one club I was in, and that's the drama club. I'll be getting into more about what that was like later, but she was also in the drama club, and oh boy. Once everybody sees her little seventh grade brother come in for the audition of Copacabana and having to do his live vocal audition in front of the whole entire expectant cast and crew of the show, everybody's gonna compare you. Everybody compares little Sean Ether to his older sister, and they either think, "Oh, that's cute," or "Oh, that's cringe." One of the two. And the people who think cute slowly transition over into cringe over the 6 years I was in high school. So yeah, that didn't help much. Sophomore year, I don't really remember much happening. Yeah, sophomore year was alright, I think. Yeah. Sophomore year was just basically kind of a big blur to me. I don't really remember much going on. If anything, I was just forced to take more stupid career classes. God, those career classes were awful. Why can't we get classes that teach you how to live in society? Because all those career classes, they don't teach you shit. They're just basically there to waste your time, give you plans that you don't want to follow through after you're done with them, and it was awful. And then, let's see, junior year was great because by then my sister was finally gone, and anyone else coming in, only saw me as brain. Come on, they saw me as for who I am, me, myself. So junior year, I'm finally able to not really be compared to my sister anymore. Like, a lot of people who've been there before me and know my sister pretty well, like, they'll always think about how they'll always try to compare me to her, but for the first time ever, I feel like I'm my own person. I land a pretty major role in the first musical that we did. We played we did Dracula, and I played Renfield. I was probably the least important major character in the play, but I did get pretty much the best song in the entire show, so I can't really complain too much. God, look up the Masters song from the musical Dracula if you're interested, because that's a pretty good one. I'd also listen to the German version, because the German actor they have to play Renfield was nuts. He could hit a high C. I wanted to do that too, but unfortunately that was just a bit out of my range. I did manage to hit it once, though, when I wasn't on stage. Like, I was just practicing in my own time. Yeah, but still. God, a high C. And I'm basically a baritone. That's a very hard note for me to hit. But yeah, I land that awesome role, and everything's looking great. And then, so yeah, everything's shaping up to be great and all. Alright, so now that I've gotten into this, I want to go ahead and talk about the thing that has probably influenced me the most, and honestly is where I ever felt the most like somewhere I ever belong in high school. And that was the drama club. Now, the drama club was overseen by our drama teacher. For the sake of not giving away his identity, because I do not want to give this person's identity away, we're going to call him Mr. T. And nothing to do with the I Pity the Fool A-Team Mr. T. This is a completely different Mr. T. So yeah, Mr. T was unlike any of the other teachers in the school. Whereas some of the other teachers, you get like the weird preppy teachers who do everything according to the rule book and disavow creativity in any way, shape, or form. I got stuck with all of those. So yeah, the ones who say, no, 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 you can't put a scary slide at the end of this slideshow to throw people off guard. It has nothing to do with the project. You make sure to do it all again or you're going to get a D minus minus. I actually had a teacher like that. Yes. And I didn't like her. Okay, but moving on along. Yeah, so we got other teachers who are just there for the job. Other teachers who are kind of cool. Like, they're pretty cool. Like, they understand how difficult it is to be a student. And then you have Mr. T. Mr. T gave no fucks. He was like... He wasn't afraid to badmouth or say anything bad about any of the other teachers or staff. I mean, he didn't say like anything actually like mean or false about them, but he did give examples when he said like how feces floats to the top when it comes to certain teachers, like how all the bad teachers are the ones who are recognized for their accomplishments in the high school. That was his saying, feces floats to the top. He gave good advice, too, like the poop sandwich. Okay, I know that sounds really gross, how I just said feces floats to the top and poop sandwich. But I trust you, this guy wasn't all full of shit. Though, I guess there were a lot of things about him that were full of shit, but we'll get to that in a bit. Now, the poop sandwich is basically a constructive criticism technique where you tell like if you want to critique somebody's performance on like a short sketch or something, you tell them what you really liked about that. Like, I thought that your delivery of this one line was super good, and I absolutely love the blocking techniques that you used. I never would have thought of that. Then you give them the critiques, like, I honestly thought that this could have been a lot better, or why did you have this one character perform this one action? That does not make any sense. And then you give them another good critique. You tell them another thing that you liked about their sketch. That is the poop sandwich, where you reinforce the negative parts of critiquing somebody by giving them two positive critiques right in between each other. That was something I really liked that he introduced to me, and I still try to think about that a lot to this day whenever I have to review something or critique someone. And yes, the term poop sandwich always comes into my mind when I think about that. Plus, this guy was nuts. His finals and midterms for the drama exam, basically all the answers were freaking obvious, and one of the answers was like a joke answer the entire time throughout the entire exam. And it was a really simple exam. Hardly anything ever changed about it. This guy was awesome. I'm not sure how he managed to keep his job as a teacher for how long he did, because he was there at least for several years before my sister went to school there. Speaking of which, I think I should talk about the drama troupe themselves, because we were a really close-knit group, them and I. So yeah, I was kind of awkward and nobody really accepted me in school, but the drama troupe, on the other hand, they were awkward too. Granted, I still felt out of place, and I usually sat on the sidelines and like played on my DS or something when I wasn't needed for anything. But oh man, if the drama troupe needed to be there for you, they were there for you, because everybody's a friend in the drama troupe. I really almost wish I could just get a reunion with the my old high school drama troupe together, just to check in on everybody and see how they're all doing. But yeah, that is the most I've ever felt at home in middle school and high school was my drama troupe. Because, oh God, I'm getting a little weepy-eyed here. But yeah, I don't normally get like this. Yeah. But honestly, it felt like a place where you could be yourself and no one would judge you for it. And anybody who did do that, they usually didn't last too long in the drama troupe. Because the drama troupe was mainly all about acceptance. And the person who really helped, I feel, enforce that the most was Mr. T. Because Mr. T was great. You could just, even during his classes, like, most of the time, he just put on, like, stuff for you to watch and observe. A lot of it was, like, drama-based, like, give you videos of masks and how the history and usage of a lot of them. Heck, we even get to practice wearing our own masks in the class. It was just so much fun, drama class. I looked forward to that more than any other class I had ever been to. Ever. Yeah. If I could just feel like what it's like to go back in time and just experience one more of Mr. T's drama classes back the way I first felt and experienced them, I would have. I just love that. Yeah, so we know how awesome Mr. T is. Basically, gives you good examples, and not only that, but he stuck his neck out for me multiple times. Because as I said before, I got in trouble a lot. Mr. T, on the other hand, he was always there. He was always there to give me life advice. He went above and beyond for any other teacher I could ever imagine. Anytime when I felt down or depressed, he'd like give me some life pointers, some advice on life, things to think on. And I don't really think many other teachers have done that for me. There was one guy in my elementary school, one of my special ed teachers, who I actually met up with again really recently, mind you. And it was cool. We went to a bagel shop and we just had a pleasant conversation. He coaches gym now or something. But yeah, love you, Mr. Watson. God. But yeah, but Mr. T, no. I mean, not only would he stick his neck out for you, and give you life advice, he'd tell you own stories of his own life advice and mistakes he'd made in the past. And he was always cool despite your opinions. Like, I remember he was pretty on the left side of things when it comes to politics. I'm neutral in politics nowadays. I try to hear everybody's side of the story and just make the best rational decision. I try to stick to basically a pacifist route, if you will. Like, let's say, like with Fire Emblem Fates, you got to go to Hoshido or you get to go to Nor. One is clearly bad and the other is clearly worse. It's a giant douche and a turd sandwich, as South Park says. I choose to go the Revelation route. I always try to find the median in between. The best route that can lead about to the best solutions, where the ends justify the means. That is the kind of route that I always try to take nowadays. But yeah, what I'm getting to is, because I was, back then, I was I wouldn't say radically influenced by my parents, but I spent a lot of time around them, and they are very right-wing. So, and I said a lot of bad stuff about President Obama back then, which honestly I miss now. God, I'd trade Trump for Obama again any day. But yeah, then I said some bad stuff about him, and he'd pull me into his office and talk about, hey, that's not cool, but I understand that your parents are kind of like that. Just try not to do that again. And of course, me being a stupid and immature teenager who thinks that Obama is the devil didn't listen. But he was just really patient. He'd have, if you bring him a doll, like, there's like a dollar that you can put in his little, a cabinet in his office, and then you can exchange that for like a candy bar or something after school. The dude was great. Put on some of the greatest shows. He also said lots of stuff that got him into trouble. Don't get me wrong, because sometimes you have to enforce rules hard on kids like that because everybody's immature. And he said a lot of stuff that parents would often look funnily at. And he'd often do some pretty questionable things as well. And with that said, now let's go ahead and get back to my junior year. When after my sister has left, I'm one of the best potential kids in the drama club. I've got like one of the best singing voice, the greatest acting ability, and all in all, I just like really love the drama program. I've been to several of the out-of-state events with them. I've just been having so much fun. Mr. T and I are great friends, and he's talking about how he's looking at musicals next year where I can play the lead. And I'm like, finally, after 5 years of suffering through high school with no real popularity, everybody just sort of ostracizing me, not really being able to find friends or even find romance of any kind. This is the big break I'm looking for. The big break where the whole school will be focused on me in the lead role in the upcoming musical, and everything's going to be freaking amazing. It's everything I could have ever wanted in life. And then, as junior year rolls to a close and we finish up the last of our we do 2 big stage shows every year, one musical usually and one straight play. We just finished up the straight play, mind you. And so everything's finally winding down. And yeah, so Mr. T is out of the office for a few days and replaced with a substitute teacher. We're like, okay, he's just out sick or something or preparing for the next big thing. Next week rolls by. Mr. T still isn't in his office. And then the next week, we have a new drama teacher. Turns out, despite all the good things I said about Mr. T, you'd be surprised at the sort of things some people keep hidden. We found out, I don't know when this was found out, and I don't even want to know the details too much, but there were some sexual allegations going on between him and some of the high school girls. I don't want to go into too much detail, but you think you know a guy. And then you find out that I don't know what exactly happened, if anything. I mean, even now, I still can't believe that the drama teacher who helped me so much, gave me so much wonderful life advice, helped me forward so much. And then you find out something about them that would get the world to just hate them. And so yeah, I don't even know what happened to Mr. T after that. I'm pretty sure he got locked away, never to be seen again. Ever since I found out about that, I try to imagine that the Mr. T I used to know, the one who told me all those wonderful things and always just encouraged me to bring out the best in myself. I like to think that that guy died. If I saw that man now, I really don't know. I really don't know if I could even look at him the same way at all. So yeah, and as if that wasn't enough, shortly after that, my grandfather on my mother's side, who was always one of the most encouraging and wonderful people in my life. I loved him to death. There were so many fun and wonderful stories I could tell about him. Passed away from a heart attack. Like, I want to say weeks before his birthday, or perhaps it was before mine even. I can't remember if this was, but I knew it happened between. I knew it happened right after that in high school because I received a banner from everybody in the drama club with also the new drama teacher signing it because I remember her signature specifically. So yeah, I was shaken up pretty badly for my senior year. And to top it all off now, I love I love the drama troupe, don't get me wrong, but then we get into the new drama teacher and she has great ideas, don't get me wrong, and she does things the right way. She's fun. But the idea that she came up with for our first show of my senior year was, honest to God, the worst stage show I have ever played a part in. I have played a part in little kid community theater summer camp shows where you basically see a bunch of little kids and then you see me on stage because the director is great friends with me and she kept on having me come back and I kept on coming back to help her out. Those shows, I feel, were just infinitely better than the travesty that we managed to put on stage. Where do I begin? There wasn't a single original sketch in the show, and everything was bad. There was this one line I remember from the show, because it recently occurred to me, because there's this one musical number that we did from, I don't know, but one of the lines in that song is, "You're suddenly a stranger. All of a sudden your life, is not how you planned." That's what my entire life was feeling like at that point. Everything was thrown off the rails, starting with Mr. T getting booted out of the universe, and things just kept on going downhill from there. I don't even land the lead role. Granted, the guy who did get the lead role in that show, he was just as, if not more talented than me. But one of the parts that's most insulting to me of all. The girl in the drama troupe I had a crush on. By God, I thought she was one of the most gorgeous girls in the world. She played that guy's girlfriend in the show. And all the time, I'm just sitting here looking at this lead character, and I'm just thinking to myself, that could have been me. Why wasn't that me? I had to play his dad, and I was only in like one scene. If I was the main character, if I was the lead character, I could have at least... But whatever, that show was a travesty anyway. Poorly written, because a lot of it was written by students, because we just tried to get everybody in there all together doing their own thing. It was awful. Everybody tried to come up with their own sketches. It was basically more of a variety show with an attempted story trying to be written around it. I hated it. Granted, there was the one act portion that we did at the end of the second act of the show, which was our one act that we took to the State Thespian Festival that year. I actually really enjoyed that portion, which I played. It was about Amelia Earhart, and I played a stuntman, Hollywood stuntman by the name of Paul Mance from Brooklyn. So I got to talk with my Brooklyn accent. Don't jockey those throttles, Amelia! Yeah. But then I hear that we're doing another musical for the second semester of drama. So I'm like, okay, I paid my dues. I even sat through this crappy show that we just put on, but I don't say any of that to anyone's face. And it's going to be a musical adaptation of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Okay, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I want to be Puck because that's like the main character. They get a lot of songs. They just have a lot of fun. Granted, the musical was poorly written, but still, I wanted that role. That was the one thing I wanted. I didn't get it. It just felt like I paid my dues for 6 long years. And in the end, I get a consolation prize. So yeah. And then I did the unthinkable after that. After I find out what part I got in the show, I stopped attending practice. I basically left the drama troupe. It felt like, I don't know. By then, I had basically become more or less how I am now because I was just so afraid of being hurt again. Hurt like I was. I was afraid of just not being able, of just putting in all my time and effort and it just having coming out amounting to nothing. I've had my hearts broken by countless girls in the schools. And just then all my time in the drama troupe was wasted. Heck, for my senior year, I wasn't even allowed to attend classes on campus after a while because I did basically another big bad thing that the establishment said, no, 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 you're going to be a school shooter. We don't want this person at our school. And shook the big ol' finger of disappointment at me. So I had to take all my basically all my classes were dual enrollment at the community college or online. And yeah, I remember just at the end of it all, I didn't have any friends with me in my class or in the school at all when I was done with graduation. I remember our project graduation was just me and my friend Cameron, who came into town to see me graduate, just playing Super Smash Brothers in the gymnasium, like health center that we rented out. That was all I did for our basically entire senior celebration. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically a slightly abridged, slightly omitted and redacted transcript of how my high school life went. I I really don't know what to say anymore. I don't really know for certain what exactly it was that made me became so afraid to stand out, to just try to do things boldly like I used to be back in elementary school. I don't know where that originally changed, but sometimes I really wish I had the old me back. All right. Well, look at the time. I managed to fill an hour. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'd like to thank me, since I'm the only one who makes this. And with that said, I just have one piece of advice: be careful who you trust. You never know what dark secrets that person might have.